Guys, I do a lot of dumb things for the channel, but this is genuinely one of the dumbest things I've done. So we're taking the Boom BD2 255 for the first ride today. If you guys didn't check out the video yesterday, I bought this thing because the company wanted to send it to me and they wanted a positive review, and I said no, I'm just gonna buy it and I want to review it the way I want to review it. So today we're gonna do an honest to God review on this thing. I want to keep it as fair and balanced as possible. And you might say, oh damn Yami, that jacket's matching that bike, you're looking pretty fresh. Well, that's because today's video is supported by Revit. That's right, boys. Hit that link down below to yaminoob.co. Check out our full collection of Revit and you can get snazzed up like I am right here, baby. Get your riz going, looking all good on your bike. So I'm gonna go take this piece of crap Chinese bike out for its first ride and I'll tell you guys everything about it. Oh Lord, I wonder if it still rides straight. Probably not. Nope, feels like ass. And here we are in motion with the Boom BD 255. I like to think that that -5 at the end stands for 5 valves per cylinder. I like to believe that this is a ultra high performance machine. That's most definitely not the case, but you know, I like to believe it. As you can tell here, full gas, baby. So it's difficult to make this review and not talk about the kind of receiving element of this bike, because you can't buy it at a dealership. You have to buy it in a box and it shows up at your door. And boy, I had a lot of issues with this bike when it showed up, man. When I first took it out, it didn't want to go straight. So I brought it back in, kind of gave it a once over, found out that the front brake pads, which by the way, dual disc brakes on this bad boy, they don't work any better than an MT-03 or something like that. In fact, they work worse somehow, despite having an extra disc and caliper. But yeah, I took it into the shop. I found that the front brake pads were grabbing a little bit, so I kind of pried them open a little bit. I hope that worked. It didn't really work. It was still traveling kind of weird. And this morning, before I took the bike out, I remembered, I was like, oh, I didn't check the nut on the steering head. I just assumed that it'd be torqued correctly. It was not torqued correctly. This this bike's bolt right here for the steering head was probably at about 100 foot-pounds of torque. So I loosened it completely, took a look at it, it was greased properly. I put it back in and set it to about, you know, 40 pounds of torque, and that definitely helped the notchiness, because I think it was too tight and it was making it notchy. The next thing I'm going to try are the tires, because I think these Chinese tires are not really the business, let's put it that way. But you know, now we're on the road, we're trying to evaluate this motorcycle, and so what are the initial impressions? Well, first of all, it is vibrational, it is apocalyptically slow. Front brake pressure is god awful too. I just had to get on the brakes a little bit there. But let's go over the basic controls, right? So ergonomically, this thing seats a lot like a Ninja 300 and Ninja 400. The seat height is very approachable. The reach to the bars is very amenable. We're gonna see if we can get past this guy for these twisties. Oh, he's coming to a stop. We gotta make sure our brakes work. And gotta make sure I don't stall this bike out because it runs so lean at the bottom. Full gas, baby! Now the RPMs, you'll see it's saying that it's going to 11,000 RPM. No, dude. I don't think so. It's also saying that I'm doing 70 miles an hour. I think I'm doing about 45. So the speedo, I'm barely making it up this hill. The speedo is comically off, and that's gonna really, you know, inform you what kind of bike this is. Because, man, let me look at this. I am absolutely pinned in third. I could probably keep it wide open. Actually, yeah, I'm wide open to this corner in third. I never let off gas. Oh my god. I gotta get this thing out on track. That'd be hilarious. Power delivery is vibrational, anemic, just bad all around. Transmission feel is like a Grom, but somehow worse. You know, it's kind of like a bicycle. You're kind of waiting for those descents so you can pick up some speed, because now I'm going uphill wide open on the gas, and I am dropping speed. I just went from 69 to 67 miles per hour, which this thing should really be at 69 miles an hour all the time. Fourth gear, up that hill, I just dropped from 69 to 60 miles per hour indicated. I'm probably doing about like 45 maybe. This is not 70 miles per hour through here. This is just hilariously bad. Grab a gear down. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Rossi right now. I am wide open through all this. Whoa! Wide open in that entry. Yeah, so the feeling of this bike, let's give it some mercy here, shall we, before it blows up. The feeling of this bike is like an overgrown Grom. That's kind of what it's like. It doesn't really do anything that a Ninja 400 or a Ninja 300 even, or a Ninja 250 even, or an RC390 or an R3. All of those bikes feel substantially faster, substantially better in every single way, shape, and form. This bike is genuinely scary to ride because I know what I'm doing. If I was a new rider, I might not understand that, you know, a motorcycle is supposed to go straight when you go straight, you know? I might think that, oh, bikes are just kind of notchy and weird like that, so I would just think that that's what it's supposed to do. But that's kind of dangerous for beginner riders. They wouldn't know to check that the pads are biting the rotor and causing the front end to want to tuck when you're going slow. They wouldn't know to check the steering head bolt to make sure that the bike has adequate free play for the steering, right? I mean, that's kind of dangerous, man, I'm not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, man, I'm still on a motorcycle, you know? I'm still on a bike, I'm still having fun, I'm still twisting the throttle. It is doing the bare essentials of what a motorcycle is supposed to do. And I guess we can't fault it for that, but we can sure as heck fault it for a whole lot of other stuff. My God, I'm catching my reflection in this truck, and I'm embarrassed for myself. I'm embarrassed for all the other riders out there in the world. I'm just gonna go around this guy. Oh, is he turning right? Let's see. Yep, he just took his sweet time turning right for some reason. That's okay, because I can't pass him. There's no way I'm gonna be able to pass this guy, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's an overgrown Grom, basically. It's really loud, and not in a good way. It's loud in a way that says, I probably didn't pass noise regulations and emissions in most developed countries. It's loud and smelly. It doesn't smell like any other bike I've ever had. Where I was just stopped at that light back there, you get this weird, like, I'm gonna die of lead poisoning smell out of the exhaust. I can't wait to do an oil change on this thing and see just how god-awful the oil is on it, because I bet you it's full of debris and liquids. Let's just get let's just get a pure launch here. Now it says I just hit 60, but guys, I'm not going 60. I know what 60 feels like. Let's make sure I don't get killed by this Corolla, or whatever that is. All the controls feel really bad, I'm not gonna lie. The throttle is super ponderous, and there's way too much free play. There's also only a single throttle cable coming out of this box, so you can't really adjust it. It's got a one throttle cable setup, so you're kind of just stuck. It's got adjustable brakes, but as if you're gonna even be able to adjust this thing based on any sort of feel. It doesn't really matter. Clutch lever is dangling right here. You could maybe dial that in a little bit, but just feels terrible. Clutch pull feels fine. I mean, it's a cable actuated clutch, so it's pretty hard to goof that up, you know. It's hard to get on a motorcycle and have the clutch feel be bad. The dash is good, but that's just because they copied a Ninja 300 dash. So I have a gear position indicator, mile per hour, my odometer, a full readout for my gas, which is nice, the RPM, which is way too generous, because I am not getting to 11,500 RPM on this bad boy, no way in hell. I don't believe that at all. And the transmission feel is sloppy like a Grom, and that's going to make it really, really difficult to get precise shifts and to feel good about your motorcycle. any entry-level Japanese motorcycle has a much better transmission feel than this thing. Much better. So what the heck is the place in the market for this thing? Why does it exist? Well, I think it exists because Venom Motorsports, which I don't know the relationship between Venom Motorsports and Boom, because this bike is branded as a Boom motorcycle, not Venom. Maybe they're just the distributors in America. I don't know the setup, but I think the place is someone thought that they could make a little bit of money doing this. I think that's the only reason these bikes exist. They're not like the CF Motos. CF Moto is, from everything I've seen, a real company with real distributors here in the US with actual quality control. I mean, for God's sake, this thing has typos on the warning label right here. It says, please read the Dwoner's manual carefully, with a G. And I'll tell you guys, I read the manual carefully, and I did not like what I found. So this is clearly just a money grab. This is like the Alibaba of motorcycles. This thing is somehow being sold here in the US. And for $3,089 shipped to my door, and then I had to do a bunch of assembly, and I had to, you know, make sure that the bike would actually track a straight line as best as it could. Which took me an entire day, basically, of assembly and troubleshooting and doing all that, which I knew how to do because I'm an experienced motorcyclist. I then have to take this thing at some point and get it tax titled and licensed, basically, in the state of Texas. So that's an additional tax that I'm going to have to spend on this bike. So you're probably looking at about $3,500 all told for this thing. I can think of at least 10 different used Japanese bikes that I can find on CycleTrader or Craigslist right now that are better than this thing in every way for $3,500. This thing is a piece of shit. It's so bad, dude. And any bike that you buy brand new and doesn't want to go straight, just take that thing right back to wherever you got it from and just demand a refund, because that is not okay. We're going to try to get around traffic here, but I don't know how well it's going to go. I am absolutely wide open trying to get around this truck, and we're around the truck. Very nice. Indicating that I'm going almost 75 miles an hour. That's not the case at all. So I think for the $3,500 you're spending on this thing, you're definitely going to have to find something used in Japanese. I mean, why would you buy this? Why? Again, the CF Motos are very different. Those are pretty high quality bikes. They're still unproven from a Chinese reliability perspective, but this thing is literally like a lawnmower 250 in a steel cradle frame with nothing else around it, you know? It's like it's made out of cardboard or something. You look behind the plastics here and there's just nothing. And that's not good. They didn't do that because they're trying to reduce the weight and make it all aerodynamic or whatever. They did it because it's super duper cheap and bad. That is the only reason that they've done that. I don't know how they got away with just literally copying a Ninja 300. They must have either bought them surplus, or they maybe they're just printing them out and stealing them. I have no idea, but this is absolutely a case of copyright infringement, IP law infringement, but I don't think the Chinese care very much about that, do they? I don't think that they do. Coming off of a stop like that, you got to make sure you give it a good amount of revs, because it stalls so easy because it runs so lean, and Lord knows you're not going to tune anything on this thing with this Chinese EFI system. There's not going to be anything on this bike you're going to be able to adjust, and nobody's doing any flashes on the Boom BD250-5. That's not going to happen. Slower speed stuff is super awkward on this machine too. I really think it's these, because it's on some like absolute no-name Chinese bias ply tires that aren't even round like a motorcycle tire. They're very flat, and so I think that that's absolutely causing some of the handling issues. So I've got a spare set of Bridgestone S22s in the same size as these at the shop. I'm gonna pop them on this bike at some later point and see if it improves. But let's see here. Open highway on this bike. Can it do highway duty? Barely. Absolutely barely, if I'm being honest. I am afraid to go in the left lane because I do not have enough acceleration to get me to keep up with traffic. Those guys are going to run up right up on behind me. And that's not something you would have an issue with on a Ninja 400 or an RC 390, or even on a Ninja 300 or a CBR 300R or something like that, man. This is barely faster than a Grom. Barely. And I think that math checks out because this thing makes about 20 horsepower or so and weighs 350 pounds. So it's making 8 more horsepower than a Grom, but weighs, I think, 100 pounds more. So yeah, it kind of nets out. As you can see here, I'm absolutely wide open. I'm barely picking up speed up this hill. So it's very, very slow. And it's not to say that a slow bike is bad. I've ridden plenty of slow bikes that have their place in the market. But from a value perspective, I think this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like I said, take $3,400, you can buy a great entry-level Japanese bike on the used market all day long. Those bikes are bulletproof, turnkey reliable, they will work super, super well for you, and you will have no issues at all. The other thing I really want to talk about on this bike is just how vibrational it is. This, honest to God, feels like my Husky FE501 dual sport bike, which is a super hopped up, crazy high-powered dual sport that I have. It's got a 500cc single cylinder. This is as vibrational as that, and I think it's because the plastics are mounted directly to the frame and the engine, and there's no thought to damping, there's no thought to reducing vibration. So through the handlebar, through the foot pegs, through the seat, oh man, it's like you're sitting on a shaver or something, dude. It's really quite bad, especially as you get it higher up in the revs, which you need to do because that's how you keep up with traffic with this thing. The feel is poor through the feel of the levers and the seat and the foot pegs. I'm honestly at the point right now where I want to rate this bike about a 1.8 out of 10. Reason being is that it functionally does what a motorcycle needs to do, so it's not a 0. It is able to convey itself down the road under its own power with 2 wheels, so cool. It does the bare minimum, but that's about it. All the control inputs feel ultra cheap. They feel ultra bad. There's no performance here. The value proposition is very poor, and the build quality is super suspect. I would personally not feel comfortable buying a motorcycle where the safety label has a freaking typo on it, you know? That's not gonna be good. That is not gonna be a good time if your safety label has a typo on it. That would make me personally very suspect about the build quality of this machine. Weirdly enough though, it grabs downshifts really well. You can see here. You can do it pretty easily and pretty well on this bike. I've definitely had other bikes that are worse than that, so that's kind of weirdly good. But man, what a turd. And it's just so chintzy, dude. Like, I think if you crash this thing, it would probably disintegrate. I don't think it would hold up well in a crash at all. I don't think it would do very well at all in a crash. Weirdly enough, another thing I was going to point out is it has a gigantic fuel tank for the size bike that it is. I put 4.5 gallons of fuel into this thing, and this is a little Chinese 250. You know, I don't think it's going to get very good gas mileage because it's probably tuned horribly, and it's probably just dumping fuel and wasting fuel, although it is running super lean at the bottom, so maybe it will. But I mean, if this thing has the consumption of fuel that a normal 250 has, with a 4.5 gallon fuel tank, the range would be ridiculous on this thing, you know? Even assuming, let's assume a pretty crappy average of 50 miles to the gallon on this thing. 4.5 gallons, dude, you're talking 225 miles of range. That's crazy. But I don't think it would do that. I don't think it would get close to those kind of figures. I swear the tack is tuned in such a way to make you believe like it's increasing in revs. It's not accurate. I'm at 6,000 right now technically, and if I get on it, I don't think I just went up to 8,000, because look how quickly it moved from 8 to 7 and back to 6. That was maybe 1,500 RPM, 1,000 RPM, not 2,000 extra RPM. Yeah, very suspect. As I go over these kind of bumpier parts here, one thing I wanted to bring up is the suspension. Bizarrely rock hard. Especially on the stroke back from the compression, it rebounds super aggressively. It feels like it's a little pogo stick. It's really quite poor, and is not a good feeling. Got a situation here. What's going on? Come on, boys. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this out, boys. Come on. All right, there we go. So it compresses normally, but then it rebounds really aggressively, and it just like punches you in the back and in the arms, and you're like, whoa, why is it so aggressive on the rebound? But I guess that's just what it does, you know? All right, let's see here. Is anybody behind me? We're good. Okay. I'm just gonna do a freaking giant launch on this thing. Let's just see what I can do with it. Let this car pass. Just gotta go up that hill, and this thing's so slow it doesn't really matter. It's like a Grom. Not accelerating anymore. There we go. Now it's accelerating. I literally had to hear what it was doing with the revs to see if I was accelerating or not, because I don't trust the speedo. That's really poor. That's really poor. Wow. Wow, dude. Impressive stuff from the Boom BD255, baby. Very impressive. God, that brake feel is non-existent. Very scary. Just feels like the brakes are going to give out at any moment, which wouldn't really matter because you just let off the gas and it slows enough to where you can make any corner. I was literally taking corners at wide open throttle, so I don't think that's dangerous. Okay, I kind of want to see if I can even pop a wheelie with this thing. What do you boys think? Let's see. It's so no, I don't think I'm skilled enough. I think I'd have to get on the back of the foot pegs and figure it out that way. I am not skilled enough to pop a wheelie with this thing. It's not going to come up just normally. Let me sit really far back. Let me see. Oh no, it can be done. It can be done. I got it to pop 1 inch, baby. Call me Yammy Noob 2 inches. That quote will age like a fine wine. Go, BD2! Yes, downhill, baby, let's go. Hey, look at me, dude. I'm smiling, I'm having fun. In spite of this thing, I'm having a good time. That's all she has, huh? And we're slowing up the hill. I want to get this thing on track. This is so funny, dude. Oh my god. I have a great video idea. I'm gonna get my buddy Brandon Altmeyer, who's former Moto America pro rider. I'm gonna have him on this thing and me on the RC390, and we'll see if I can hang, because that's a big handicap to ride this thing. Holy moly! But it just needs new tires, and she's ready to rip, bro. She's ready to freaking rip. I also realize how spoiled I am with my bikes that, you know, you can just pop the throttle in first gear and the front wheel comes up and you can chase out a little wheelie. You need a lot of skill to wheelie this thing. I can't do it. I am not able to, because it is heavy and slow and dumb. Go, little buddy. It absolutely has Gixxer 250 energy. And if you guys remember what I did with that bike, this thing will probably suffer a similar fate. This thing will definitely suffer a similar fate. Oh, Bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. So much rebound. Why? I swear the rear tire is literally coming off the ground over those bumps. There's so much rebound. It's probably to make it feel more sporty than it is, because it's not sporty at all, I'll tell you that right now. Go! I don't know why. I think it's the tires, man. I hope so, because otherwise this thing's hopeless. But you get on the brakes and the whole thing just does this. It's so bad, dude. That's so bad. Well, folks, I think that's going to wrap up my review of the Boom BD250. It does everything a motorcycle needs to do, but it does it really badly. So I'm going to keep the rating of a 1.8 out of 10 for this thing. It passes the marks of being a motorcycle. It does motorcycle things, but it does not do them with aplomb. It does not do them with a smile. It'll do them gritting its teeth and desperately asking you to kill it. But that's life on a BD250-5. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you own one of these bikes or have owned them, please leave me a comment. Or if you're in the Austin area, I would like to talk to you, because I want to do some comparisons of this thing to other 250cc machines and see. It's easily the worst, but I want to ride them back to back and see how I really feel. Yeah, I think that's it for the report for today. I hope you guys had some fun. I am putting my life on the line by riding this bike around the city, because the front brake feels like a spring, and that should not happen like that. That is super scary. All right, boys, we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
I'm impressed. I think the only thing I can do is just keep watching Yami Noob.